here you have the accounting formula for growth. If you look here, the breakdown of this equation is the growth rate of GDP equals like how much of GDP growth can be attributed to technological changes plus the share of GDP distributed to the owners of capital times the growth rate of capital plus 1 minus A, which is the share of GDP distributed to laborers, all times the growth rate of labor. So that is the breakdown of the equation. Now let's do an example. So the question below says, suppose that China annually grew by 9.3%. The growth rate of labor in China was 2%, and the growth rate of capital was 10%. The share of output distributed to the owners of capital is 40%. Calculate what was the contribution of the technological change to the growth. So here I'm going to highlight some important data. China grew by 9.3%. The growth of labor was 2%. Growth of rate, 10%. And the share out distributed to the owners of capital, which will be A, was 40%. Now we're going to set this formula up. So the rate of growth was 9.3, which is GY. And then you have GA, which shows how much can be attributed to technological changes. So that would be, okay, so we have 40% going to the owners of capital. So the remaining of that, 100 minus 40 equals 60%. And then if you turn that into a number, it's 0.6. So the next part is going to be 0.6. And then we need to multiply that by 2 because that's the growth rate of labor, so times 2. And then we're adding A, which is 40. So move the 40%. If you move the decimal over, yeah, plus 0.4 and times GK, which is 10% because that's the growth rate of capital. So same thing, 0.1. And then let me erase all of this. And then the rest of the equation plus 1 minus A, which is 0.4 like we did earlier. Yeah. And then times JL, which is actually what we're trying to find. Question mark. Okay, so once you add everything up and simplify, like I used my calculator, I got GL equals 9.3% minus 1.2% minus 4%. And that all simplifies to 4.1%. So the contribution of technological change in the growth of China using the formula is approximately 4.1%.